Good afternoon and happy Friday, college football fans. We're one day away. It's October 10th. Awesome games tomorrow. Pretty good game coming up tonight between the Big Ten. It's going to be Washington versus Rutgers, and I'm not here to talk about any of those games. I am here to talk about LANDON TENGWALL. And a lot of people might think that this is like clout chasing, or I'm just trying to get clicks, or I'm just trying to, bite on somebody who is getting a lot of popularity and a lot of views lately. It's actually the opposite. I don't care if people follow me. I don't care if people don't like what I have to say, because in my opinion, if you don't like what I have to say, you probably don't know ball. I don't have sponsors. I do very low production. This is on my iPhone. I got a light, and that's it. And I can just upload straight to YouTube. I've had a lot of opinions over the years that have come out to prove that I actually know what the hell I'm talking about. And I think I'm pretty spot on about this. So Landon, stop jumping on every single Oregon podcast that you can. Oregon podcasters in general, at least the best 8 of them, are far and beyond what you are as a podcaster. They're actually grounded in realism. Oregon has a history and tradition of big disappointments. We've never won a natty. We've been smoked in the Rose Bowl multiple times by OSU, and the natty loss in 2010 to Auburn was just gut-wrenching. I was there. Mark Teixeira right next to me, Marcellus Wiley and his beautiful, hugely pregnant wife right behind me. And that was a really hard game to watch, especially knowing how much Cam Newton had cheated and been illegally paid going into that season, being in that season. All that said, Oregon fans and Oregon podcasters in particularly have, I think, a unique understanding of college football. Having the history of the Pac-10 and Pac-12 constantly be undervalued, underranked, watching the SEC be hyped up no matter what their results were, always starting huge, like really highly up in the preseason rankings and then barely dropping if they got a loss, where teams as Oregon would be matching up against LSU in the very first game of the year, take an L, and they drop 14 spots. If LSU's so good and Oregon lost on the road, always playing like in Dallas, like that's a road game for LSU. I mean, that's a road game for Oregon. And yet they would just be hugely penalized by the media being like, well, Oregon's still just mediocre. It's really frustrating, especially when Oregon and the rest of the Pac-12 and even in the Pac-10 days all play 9 conference games every single year. So when you're taking an extra L, or you're actually playing a team that's not a cupcake team, and you're, competing against legit players, shit happens. All that said, Landon has a persona that comes across as very intelligent. He seems like he has charisma. He's got a really good kind of energy while he's doing his podcast. But having good energy while you're doing a podcast isn't the same thing as knowing what the fuck you're talking about in that podcast. Landon did some predictions about Oregon in preparation for the matchup for the whiteout. Landon straight up just basically shit-talked Oregon's star players, especially Mateo Uyunglele, in his own little passive-aggressive way. He said, and I quote, "Mateo and Tatum, our 2 defensive ends, are good." And he goes, "They're not elite, they're good." Didn't even say great. Just he emphasized that they're good, but not elite, which I took umbrage with. I firmly believe that Mateo is an elite pass rusher, an elite defensive end. He has the stats to back that up. And if Landon had done any of his research like he purports to do when he's breaking down games and analyzing these teams and these matchups, he would have seen that Mateo is an elite pass rusher / D. It doesn't, I guess that there is a certain distinction between pass rusher and defensive end, even though that's the exact same player position. And it's basically just about how you perform in that position. But Mateo definitely falls into the category of an elite pass rusher. And I thought him minimizing Mateo's skill set and what he's accomplished already, in his first 2 years in the Big Ten, especially being the sack leader in the Big Ten last year as a true sophomore, and then acting like he didn't have the skill set that he actually has, or he isn't as talented and productive as he actually is going into that game, was a huge discredit to the Penn State fan base. I didn't really I'm not the guy that's like, oh, you said something negative about my guy, so now I'm going to attack you. No, I literally didn't go like, dude, you're so fucking dumb or anything like that. I just said, hey, your take on Mateo and Tatum, because he said the same thing about Tatum, was that they are not elite. Tatum is, in my opinion, also elite, but I think Mateo is, widely considered a little bit better just in talent and potential, but I think Tatum's going to be a long-time NFL, player. So where you want to draw the distinction between those two players is up to, discussion. But the fact that Mateo is elite as a defensive end, as a pass rusher, is not up for discussion, in my opinion. Unless you're trying to say that they're not, and then we'll discuss it. And Landon had responded to me in his video, which has since been taken down because I believe copyright issues, if not him just realizing that he made some really bad takes on Oregon and didn't want to have those there for posterity. Because in that comment that I made to him about that, like, hey, why don't you think Mateo's elite? What constitutes elite, to you as a pass rusher? And he went into it and he gave the criteria for his 3 requirements for what makes an elite pass rusher. And I understood where he was coming from, and I understood his criteria, and it seemed very, very logical. So I didn't have any disagreement with that. I just had a disagreement about how it was applied to Mateo. I believe that Mateo showed all the characteristics, and if Landon had done his proper research into, our defensive ends, particularly Mateo, he would have totally known and seen that the guy was a stud, like a super stud. And he is one of the most elite defensive ends and pass rushers in the country, let alone the Big Ten. And I thought it was brilliant that in the very first defensive drive for Oregon, Mateo, on a 3rd and whatever it was for Penn State, got his big paw up and slapped the ball out down for an incompletion, and they had to go 3 and out. I mean, that was like, okay, yeah, he didn't sack your guy on that drive. It's the very first drive of the game for Penn State. But he smacked the ball out of the air on a 3rd down conversion attempt. That's huge. If you think that that's not affecting the pass game, you're wrong. That directly affects the pass game. And Mateo had a sack in that game. He had tackles for losses in that game. Tatum had a sack in that game, had huge tackles for losses in that game. I mean, they were playing their asses off. Bear Alexander tore it up. And there was multiple players that Landon definitely just completely undervalued and straight up, just was like dismissive of. And that is his prerogative. But I mean, all right to have your opinion, all right to think what you think and evaluate how you evaluate. But when you're putting all of that information out and your opinion to the mass public like you do on YouTube, you got to have some accountability, because if you're horrifically wrong in your take, you should have the integrity and the mental fortitude and the backbone to be like, yeah, dude, I was wrong about that. And since the whiteout, I haven't heard, Landon come correct about that at all. In fact, I've tried to contact him several times through different mediums and be like, hey, what do you honestly think about Mateo and Tatum now that you watch them play? Not like I didn't have any, arrogant attitude to him. Like, I told you you're wrong and I'm right. No, I was just like, dude, I would love to hear your opinion. If you're so knowledgeable, if you're so aware, if you're so, good at breaking down games and then evaluating players as the season goes along, what is your opinion now? And he didn't respond once. And I told him in his original video, which has been taken down, like I said, for copyright issues or he just didn't want it there for posterity. I told him, I was like, look, dude, this take about Mateo not being elite might get you on the Ducks versus them next week. Like, it's pretty bad. I mean, that was one of the most egregious opinions I've heard about Mateo or any of our defensive players all year. And to have it come from somebody who's so highly regarded and respected and, popular in the college football podcast landscape was absurd. And the guy has been on multiple Oregon podcasts this last week. People I respect a lot. Ryan Winter just had him on. He was on Duck Scoop yesterday, and I used to follow Duck Scoop closely, and I was a diehard follower of them. I have since stopped following them for some reasons I don't want to get into because I don't want to put people down. But Ryan Winter, I very highly respect. I met him at Ranchito Grill last year when he was down in Eugene because his son had just got accepted to Oregon. And he seemed like a great guy, had great energy, and ever since then, I've been following his show, weekly. The 503 Sports Chat is a great show. The guy doesn't have huge production. Obviously, he's a teacher, I think, for his full-time job up in Portland. But the content he puts out is very well informed. It's a great, unique take, It's kind of like the Oregon fan in a nutshell. Like, we all got day jobs, we got things that we're doing, but we focus on Oregon football so much because that's our one passionate thing. That's the thing that draws us together. And Oregon has created this culture where we're all very supportive of the team. I mean, it's been that way for a long time. And when you face the adversity and the issues that Oregon has faced over the years and had the disappointments that we've had, at the end of seasons or even in season stuff due to injuries or other things, especially 2007 with Dennis Dixon, you really get, I guess, used to adversity and heartache. And I think it was very telling how Landon adjusted to the adversity and the heartache that Penn State faced when they lost to Oregon. Even in the game before they lost to Oregon, Penn State's fans were booing their coach, they say, not their players. That's their justification for booing horrifically in that game, during the game. They were, chanting "Fire Franklin" when they all should have been just chanting "Let's go Bo, let's go Bo," or I mean, not let's go Drew, let's go Drew. Sorry, I had Bo Nix on the mind, not Bo Prabula, but because you'd have been the exact same if you had Bo Prabula. Sorry for that tongue twister. Because your culture is trash. When your fans boo and have so much toxicity in and outside of the stadium, in and outside of Beaver, not just Beaver Stadium, but Happy Valley, in and outside of your regional base, all of the noise coming in is negativity. I didn't hear one fan say, "Hey, man, Oregon just came and they destroyed us in all of these categories that we had advantages in. We were overhyped. We were wishful thinking. We didn't look at the stats. We didn't look at the gameplay. We didn't, critically think and analyze how Penn State was playing up into the whiteout. We just all kind of told ourselves the same wishful bullshit that we've been holding back, and we're going to play when we need to play. And we're going to step up and we're going to win this big game because we have to." Instead of coming with that mentality that the Oregon culture comes with, where it's like, we know that this is going to be a very tough game. You can never predict what's going to happen in an away game, let alone a home game. And because injuries happen, and sometimes you just drop a critical pass, or some defender makes an insanely great play, and there's just or wind blows the ball just a foot over that way or that way. There's so many factors that can come into play to determine how a game goes and then how it results. And Penn State didn't want to hear any of that. Oregon knew that, though. I mean, the mass majority of Oregon fans really, I think had confidence that Oregon was going to win that game, or at least play very, very well in that game. But none of us were like so ridiculously deluded that we were like, yeah, we're definitely going to win in the whiteout. Like, scores this, blah, blah, blah. Penn State sucks. That's not our energy. We tried to bring, realistic hope and energy and positive energy into those types of games, even every game, but especially those away games where we know, hey, this is going to be a really tough environment. If their fans at Beaver Stadium, if those PSU fans have the right energy and know how to be supportive of their team, that's going to be such a huge advantage to them. They might not have the advantage on offensive line. They might not have the advantage on defensive line. They might not have advantage at defensive end, quarterback, wideout, tight end, DBs, linebackers, whatever it is. But they have the crowd. That crowd should have played so much harder for PSU than they did. In fact, they played against PSU when they started their toxic chants. And Penn State barely lost that game. And it's so telling how Penn State's reacted since that loss. Obviously, they lost to UCLA last weekend on the road, but everybody in the media that thinks that they know about football but doesn't know ball have been, diminishing Oregon's results and their accomplishment by winning on the road in Happy Valley because Penn State lost to UCLA, not crediting all of the effort and energy and attention that went into the game for the whiteout and how much they had, as a program and as a team, had hinged all of their confidence and their belief in their manifestation that they are elite on getting the win against Oregon in the whiteout. They lost against Oregon, and all of that confidence just gone, right? Especially when their fans are chanting that they suck or their coach sucks and he needs to be fired, and expletive after expletive after expletive. If you go back and you look at the footage of the Ducks versus them and other, it was it Jake Butt, I believe, or Adam Brandman. One of them, I think it was Brenneman, that was on the field right in front, or he was on the sideline, and Dylan Thieneman got the pick to kill the game right in front of him, and he had a body cam on, and he showed how it went down. They showed all of the fucking toxicity that came out of those fans directly after that game, and then all the podcasters for PSU could do was just point fingers and blame. Literally, just make excuses. Oh, this is on the coach. Well, yeah, I mean, it's very much on the coach. The coach definitely had the chance to have a different game plan. He had the chance to adjust to what Oregon was doing during the game. But he also needed the support and good energy of his fans for his team to really finally crest over that last hurdle that they had been faced with over and over and over. And they were right on the edge of actually doing that, of ascending to beating Oregon and being back into elite in national eyes. And their fans just didn't have it. They didn't want to participate in that type of culture and bring that positivity that might have made all of the difference in a win or a loss. And since then, all they've been doing is just pointing fingers at everybody else. It's the coach's fault, it's the OC's fault, it's the DC's fault, it's Bo's fault because he left and we didn't keep him. It's anybody else's fault that it could be besides the podcasters who basically arrogantly hyped up their team without having any proof or grounded evidence for why they had these high, lofty opinions of having all these advantages over Oregon and blah, blah, blah. And they spread that out to their fan base. They went, hey, we're better than Oregon in this way, this way, this way, and this way. So we're going to win this game because we have to win this game. That is the most ridiculous freaking mentality and, I guess, perspective to have if you're actually trying to be a legit media representative for your team, because you literally are lying to your team. You're just hopefully wishing that you had these advantages when there was absolutely no clear proof that you did. But then you spouted it out enough that you were trying to manifest it. Zach Seiko did that over and over and over. And you could tell he was falsely confident about what he was saying, because he was trying to fake it till he made it. But faking it till you make it, when you have so many toxic fans who are like just hanging on every word and looking to you and clinging to you to give them, the hope and the confidence that they're actually going to watch Penn State win and beat Oregon in a whiteout, it's ridiculous. And it's so toxic. You literally set your fans up to fail. And then you didn't call your fans out for booing and being toxic pieces of shit during the game and post-game. And this is like a tradition for you guys now. This is the new Penn State tradition. You guys, come up with all of these stats or these ideas or these perspectives that fit your little, narrative. And you get thousands and thousands of people viewing it and going like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he said it and the other guy said it and Zach says it. And so, if we lose, whose fault is it? It's got to be Franklin's fault. If we lost, dude, it's a fucking program's fault. It's the podcaster's fault for lying to you, for not doing their job, analyzing football and talking to people who actually know ball, and then bringing it up like, hey, this looks sus. We haven't seen, consistency from Aller going into this whiteout. We haven't seen these transfer receivers perform and put up numbers and stats that makes us think that they're going to be able to do something against Oregon that's really going to give us an advantage in those positions and help us move the chains. You literally did not give Oregon's running back core any credit. You literally said like us running 6-7 running backs was a hindrance or was a detractor from Oregon's potential and or was not a advantage to Oregon. It wasn't something that is a strength. You acted like it was a weakness, but you never watched our running backs play. You literally just went like, oh, they're running these many guys, and that's not good. They don't have two studs like Singleton and Katron Allen. Dude, if you had watched Oregon's running back this season, you would go, that is the most ridiculously deep core of backs, maybe in the history of the Big Ten. I mean, the SEC used to have, Alabama obviously had Heisman winner after Heisman winner after freaking 5-star in the wings at back, but they didn't utilize them with the magnitude that Oregon has been utilizing theirs. And to be able to just confidently say like, yeah, Penn State's got the advantage because Singleton and Nick, your other back, sorry, I'm on a little bit of a rant right now. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Thinking that those two were far superior to Oregon's backs and discrediting Oregon's running back core was just another example of your infinite ineptitude. You didn't analyze it. You just took what you saw or read in stats and went, well, that's a weakness. I mean, having that many backs, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know who their clear guy is, and that's going to be an advantage for Penn State. And our defensive ends are going to eat them up, and our defensive line's going to do this and that. And Oregon's offensive line isn't as good because they've got new guys in, and their two tackles went to the NFL last year. And you didn't look at the dominance that they had. You didn't look at how Oregon's offensive line started off so much better than they did last year. In fact, that was the main bugaboo or flaw in Oregon's start to the 2024 season was the offensive line. The incongruity, the mismatch, the mix matching, putting guys here and putting guys there. It was really dumb, but they had to do it to a degree to try to figure out what their best lineup was going to look like and who was going to be able to step in and play snaps, adequately and to the Oregon standard, when they needed it to. So to not give Oregon the recognition and the respect and the proper analysis, just critical thinking analysis that they deserved was, on the podcasters, I think, first and foremost, because the fans just followed suit. And now you see Landon Tengwall jumping on every single Oregon podcast, trying to build his base, trying to find these new fan bases and be a representative of the Big Ten. And because he doesn't do a good job for Penn State, right? So he wants to jump on elite programs like Oregon. So when he says, oh, well, they just got better guys and they're going to beat these guys because of this, he'll actually be correct. He'll come across like he knows what he's saying. But he doesn't know how to analyze ball. He just sees 5-star after 5-star and high 4-stars at Oregon, and he wants to jump on being able to be like, well, if I talk about them, if I analyze them and I hype them, they won't let me down like PSU does. Guess what? That's not because of the players, it's because of the culture. It's because of Dan Lanning and the staff around him. It's because of the people who support them in our fan base. It's because of the fans who show up to Autzen and on the road games and cheer and yell when other teams are on offense and scream and lose their vocal cords and stand up and don't take shit from people who tell them to sit down because they feel entitled. Nah. Do you not know how we do it in Autzen? We stand up. If you don't want to stand up and yell, there's 1,000 other people who would take your seat right now. So if you guys don't start adapting to that mentality, if you fall for Landon Tengwall's false bravado that he actually knows what the fuck he's talking about, like he knows ball and he knows culture, he knows X's and O's. He doesn't know ball. Like ball is so much more beyond what is just happening on the field. One of my favorite movies of all time, by far best college football movie or football movie in general, is The Program. And if you don't know what it takes in every little aspect to get a program and a team up to elite status and then maintain that year in and year out, and always bring good energy, no matter if you lost fucking 40-21 in the Rose Bowl. You're just not going to you're not ever going to achieve true elite status because you don't know what the fuck it takes. That's why I was like putting out podcasts earlier this week, calling out these Penn State podcasters. Like, I'm just like, dude, you're doing such a discredit to your team and your fan base by not holding them accountable as people. First and foremost, hey, are you a person? Would you just boo somebody because you don't like what they did, or because you're not happy with the results that you're seeing from a group of people who are all 18 to 22 and very, very susceptible to energy, good or bad? It blows my mind. And I think it's basically because people like Landon are too cowardly to actually, if he actually is aware and intelligent enough to know if that is. I mean, he might just be ignorant. And then that's me having too high expectations for Landon because he comes across like he knows what the fuck he's talking about. But if he actually doesn't know, then, I kind of think that the evidence is showing itself. If he does know and he's willingly just ignoring the major fucking elephant in the room, which is the toxic culture, just because he doesn't want to take negativity from his fans, because that is it. Obviously, when you have a toxic culture like them, they're not going to take that type of news or that perspective and that truth because they're so entitled. They love to blame shift. It's this tradition and this routine of just pointing fingers at these people when they got all these fingers pointing back at themselves, but they'll never actually look at that. They'll never actually accept reality and be like, yeah, maybe booing during a game is really bad and it could, affect not just one or two plays, but the entire outcome of a game or the entire season or next season. The main thing if you can't shame shitty fans for booing the way that Penn State does and the way they talk about their players and their coaches, the way you should appropriately shame them, you're gonna just lose recruit after recruit after recruit like you did. You think those 100+ recruits at Penn State visiting for that game thought that the boos from the crowd and the energy that they were throwing out was something that they want to be a part of? I mean, that was supposed to be such a boon to you. It was supposed to be this thing of, come look at what a whiteout is. This is the best, tradition or best experience in college football. And you guys looked like a bunch of little bitches. You looked like crybaby bitches. like there's ever going to be an elite, guy that wants to come there. Why do you think Oregon got Brandon Finney to come play out here? You guys were way closer to home. And you were throwing him more money than we were offering him. Anyway, I see what Oregon's doing. Like, I've been to their home games. It's just extra special. So for the Landon Tengwalls out there who want to just bite on what we have because it's extra special and they think that they're going to get a little bit more popularity, maybe get a fatter check from a sponsor, go fuck yourself. Take care of your own program first. Don't try to step into our shit and act like, oh, I was on you guys the whole time. I was so supportive and I've just loved your culture and I've loved your program and I love your coach and I love your players and what a great, fan base you have. Nah, dude, we've seen you. And if your video hadn't gotten taken down or you hadn't taken it down yourself with all that bullshit you were talking, dude, oh my God. It would just be like, I'd be pointing to everybody, go watch that video. Literally, go watch that video right now. Go watch what Landon actually said. Go watch what this fool actually thinks about Oregon. And just imagine how it bleeds over into all of his other analysis, how his perspectives are, inaccurate, just beyond ridiculous. So anyways, that's what I got to say. Oregon podcasters, Zachary Neal, you're the shit. Travis Rookley, bro, you're the shit. We got Ryan Winter, you're the shit. Eric Scopel, my dog, you're awesome, dude. There's Spencer McLaughlin. Dude, you grind your ass off. It's like everybody can tell that you've only slept about 3.5 hours per night, but you put out a ton of really good content and you really are passionate and you're an Oregon guy. I love it. I love it. I love all you guys who really put in the effort to, highlight what Oregon is and what we're not, because we're not national championship winners, but we will be if we keep up this culture. So don't let the rats like Landon Tengwall in. keep it strong. We don't need that energy. And if you think I'm toxic because I'm calling you out like this, or I'm throwing that out there, or people say I'm throwing shade or hate at Landon, I'm totally here for it. When somebody like Landon has so many different critical thinking errors and just excuses to be made, I'm going to shoot him down, dude. Look at yourself first. Then, accurately analyze what you're seeing. Look at your program, look at your fans, look at your coaches. We already know how you feel about your coaches, but really look at yourselves honestly and go, what do we really need to improve to be like Oregon? It's not just by fucking coming into our community and trying to steal what we got going on or claim it like you had any part in it, because you didn't. In fact, you are a part of what Oregon doesn't want to be. So keep that shit away from us, please, and have a, good, long, healthy life. I wish everybody prosperity. I wish Landon all of the growth in the world. I don't think he's always going to be who he is right now. If he decides to change, if he actually starts to open his mind and go, oh, I don't know every fucking thing. Maybe I should have really looked into the tape way harder. Maybe I should have actually given Oregon the appropriate credit when it was deserved and not had my fucking PSU, colored goggles on while I was watching tape, or while I was coming up with these, advantages and how I was going to describe how PSU was going to win this game against Oregon. If you guys keep doing that, like you have done in recent history, you're going to keep losing and you're going to slide down to USC or Auburn status. Toxic fan bases that have entitlement, that don't actually, know ball per se. They're just very, very passionate about their team. And they'll listen to anybody who says that their team's good, no matter if the evidence is there or not. Everybody, I hope you have a wonderful, safe weekend, and let's go Ducks.